Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. This is Boisterous coming to you with something different than I usually do here on TropicalBob. Spying down here in the bottom left-hand corner is TropicalBob, and up here in the top left-hand corner is going to be TeslaTroopers. Now, when I say something different, I mean that this is actually a CSL game, a Collegiate Star League game, which they're looking for casters, and they said, you know, grab replays, send them in to us, send them in with like applications and resumes and all that other junk. So I'm going to need to type that up before I actually send in my application. However, I'm going to be posting this to YouTube anyway, just because it's way more convenient to watch. Plus, I kind of owe you guys a couple of extra videos because I forgot to post one on Wednesday, so whoops, you're going to be getting this one. Now, anyway, the CSL is actually like from what I can tell, what is this FG Sonata? Come on, getting into my commentaries already. Man, freaking observers. Come on, sometimes these people. Anyway, we have TeslaTrooper going for what looks to be a supply depot at his front, and our resident Zerg player would appear to be going for 15 hatch, because honestly, if you do anything else in the ZVT matchup, you're kind of not that smart. You usually want to do that, especially in Tal'Darim Altar. I mean, Tal'Darim Altar is like the one map where it is so ridiculously easy to get away with a fast expand in ZVT that even Terran do it. I mean, look at this. He's getting his barracks down at the front. He doesn't have any gases up yet, so it's not going to be like a fast factory or anything, and just based on the position of the barracks, I would say it's probably going to be fast expand or 2 racks pressure. TeslaTrooper, you gotta prove me wrong in like the first 5 minutes. I still think he's gonna be going for a reasonably faster expand than you normally would as Terran. Usually you would want to get like a factory up and actually be safe when you expand, but let's be honest, safety's for suckers. You just wanna snatch up all the golden coins. You know, that's what you do. You just pretend to be Mario. Just don't plumb people. That wouldn't be nice. I mean, unless they ask for it. And yeah, we have our Zerg player going for a spawning pool and an extractor. These are actually kind of late. They're on like 15 and 16, I think they were on. Actually, I think they were on 16 and 17. Ugh, that is really late for spawning pool. Not like forebodingly late, however, definitely not the fastest in the world. Again, that's probably just because he scouted out that it was cross spawns. He did scout out it was cross spawns. Yes, indeed he did. So he does know that it's cross spawns. He knows he is exceedingly safe in this game. It's actually very hard to die early on in cross spawns, especially if your opponent is not going for gas. I'm still surprised he hasn't expanded yet. I mean, as soon as he realizes it's cross spawns, I'm guessing he's going to cut Marine production and go for an expand. Because honestly, you can't push your Marines out that far. Either that or he's going to go for an instant attack, which is probably going to get crushed at the front. Because honestly, you can't do that in cross spawns Tal'Darim. I mean, there's 8 Zerglings on the way already. He knows that there were 2 racks. He knows the pressure's coming. I'd be surprised to see him not drop some level of Spine Crawler maybe right there. Because honestly, on Tal'Darim Altar, you can do something like that without too much fear. Here come the 6 Marines. He is, of course, probably going to need that Spine Crawler. And is he going to drop it? Oh, he doesn't have enough minerals yet. That's kind of sketchy. So we'll see him drop it. Like, there we go right now. He dropped it in kind of an awkward spot, but that's mainly because he didn't drop it nearly as early as he particularly wanted to. This game was actually played before the range patch? Huh. So maybe this attack wasn't that bad of an idea. I didn't check the date on this game. Whoops. Oh well. So yeah, this queen actually doesn't have range yet, which makes it much less menacing in this fight. Although still menacing, it means that it can't really continue and like pursue enemies off creep. However, once the Spine Crawler is up, he's going to be perfectly safe. It's very difficult for Marines to break down the door when there's a Spine Crawler there. Especially if there are drones and a queen, and oh, the queen goes down. That's kind of annoying. This Spine Crawler is, again, not in the greatest position. He really needs to move this thing in. There we go. It does uproot itself. It is moving into a better location. However, the Marines are playing this extremely smartly and kind of getting into, yeah, there we go. Now they're in a better position. They're avoiding that Spine Crawler fire. They're doing as much damage as possible, but then again, once you start looping around the hatchery, there's just not that much more damage you can do. He's still rallying Marines over, but he did finish his command center at his main base, which is, of course, really what I expected him to do from the start. I'm still surprised he went for that pressure, because if you look at, like, the Workers Lost tab, or the Workers Killed tab, he didn't do a whole lot with that attack. 4 workers killed against a Zerg, it's not that effective. He did manage to pull himself up in Harvesters, primarily because he stopped those Zerglings from being made, which is something that with the new patch a lot of Terran have failed to do. And I think little pressures like that would still work. Maybe not at the super high level. I actually don't know the leagues of these two players because it's kind of hard to find them. So you know, it's something that I think a lot of players could do, but they're always afraid to because of the new queen buffs, and they're always afraid that their opponent's going to have like 5 times as many queens as they usually get. And we do have our Zerg player getting a little bit supply blocked, a bit awkward. But he is dropping those overlords, and only one of his bases is really affected by that larva block. Inject. Alright, so he's missing a bit of his macro opportunities. He's playing a little bit sloppily, but at the same time, I think both of our players really are. This Terran is definitely playing a bit cleaner, but it's a bit harder to play super noticeably dirty as Terran. It's actually extremely hard to play noticeably dirty as Terran, because really you can just drop 5 mules and then it's like, it's alright, it's okay guys, I'm clean. Nailed that macro. Nailed it. And I think the big key is, like, you know, how soon does he... Actually, wow, he is playing really cleanly. That was pretty nice. It was like 3 energy after he had 50. That was pretty good. Anyway, it looks like our Zerg player is going to be trying to expand to a 3rd. I'm kind of surprised that they used this version of the map, because this version of the map has kind of been critically panned because of these destructible rocks at the 3rd. Now, of course, it's good because the 3rd has a higher value than basically all the tournament versions of the map. Because usually it's like a 6 mineral and 2 gas, I think. At least in a lot of the tournaments I watch, and really this map hasn't been played in tournament play in a little while. And it looks like the Zerglings are going to be running for an attack across the map. The 3 racks and couple supply depot walls up, along with siege tanks and medevacs. So I think he's going to find it actually exceedingly hard to do any amount of damage. So instead he's just going to split up and go for a bit of scouting, which is of course a genius thing to do. The hatchery has gone down and been planted. He's actually going to snipe off like 1 Marine that was like, please medevac, lift me up. And then, you know, there wasn't enough room in the party bus. He got kicked out, left on the side. Anyway, that medevac is going to be flying in to try to get a drop-off, but honestly, it got scouted out really close to home. I'd be amazed if it actually does any damage at all, because these Zerglings are going to be prepped to attack at either part. You already see that both bases have 2 queens on them, which of course makes it quite easy to defend, because 2 queens are actually pretty effective, especially if you have one of them pooling up energy for things such as transfuse, which this one already has enough for a transfuse. This one almost already has enough for a transfuse. It's getting close. So that's of course very, very useful when it comes to holding off a drop. This queen is going to be fighting it off, and the Marines are going to get their drop off, and then they're going to run the hell away, because that's of course what you want to do when you're faced with 2 queens and a giant army of Zerglings. These queens are spreading the creep out to the edge, so that of course he'll be able to see the entirety of his new base, but more importantly, he'll be able to move that queen a lot earlier. And oh, this medevac drop, oh, is it gonna notice the hatchery in time? Yes, it does. Now this is of course not the greatest situation for TropicalBob. He's almost certainly going to lose this hatchery, or at least have to cancel it, because the Zerglings are kind of far away. Now of course Zerglings are amazingly fast units, however Marines are amazingly fast units when it comes to firing those guns and just holding down the trigger. They're not really good at short controlled bursts, so they are of course going to cancel that hatchery and then kill the drone, which is very, very annoying. Because that means he needs to ferry a new drone out there, get it out there, get it working on that hatchery. It's an entire issue. It looks like he's going to be trying to drop this Marine drop again, and it's going to get cleaned up pretty easily. And here comes the attack from TeslaTrooper. For a second there, I thought it was an all-in. Then I noticed these SCVs were kind of curving off to the side, and they're actually just going to go to their 3rd base. Now, this 3rd base has been scouted by the friendly neighborhood overseer. It looks like a planetary fortress is actually starting at this 3rd base, which is a good idea. I don't know. It's an idea that on Tal'Darim Altar is kind of... It's really based on preference. I mean, a lot of people go for orbital commands just because of the short distance in between the 3rd and the main. However, at the same time, even that short distance is easy to kill with Zerglings, because honestly, your tanks need to get over there, your Marines need to get over there, your tanks need to get sieged up, your Marines need to get stimmed, they need to get medevaced. It's very, very annoying to actually set up an orbital there. And it looks like he's just going to be going for the snipe on some creep tumors, and then he's going to be backing off, which is honestly not an awful idea, because it basically just limits TropicalBob's abilities, and since this isn't post-patch, it's not like when everybody just got 9,000 queens and then expanded their creep all over the map. TropicalBob, of course, did get 9,000 queens because he was focusing on holding off those medevac drops. However, his extra queens are primarily just sitting at either their own hatcheries, like this queen is, or defending the back of his natural against a possible drop. And we do see TropicalBob actually pooling quite a bit of energy. That might be because of the time he pulled them off to deal with those drops. It might be because he's just in kind of, you know, a little bit of a sloppy Zerg player, as a lot of people are wont to be. And, you know, it's kind of an issue that a lot of people face, and it looks like TropicalBob actually wants to go into and attack this natural. Now, of course, I don't really agree with this, because Planetary Fortresses kind of own Zerglings. We saw a bit of a Muta-Harass try to go off, but one of them, of course, did get sniped by the Marine Patrol. And it looks like the Zerglings are yet again at the front. He's actually getting +2/+2 for his Zerglings, which is pretty nice compared to the just +1 attack of his opponent with +1 armor on the way. However, still, I mean, +2/+2 is better than +1/+1. He's also getting centrifugal hooks for those banelings, which is, of course, an extremely important upgrade in this matchup, because it means that those banelings are actually effective off creep, and super effective on creep, like ridiculously effective on creep. And there, that centrifugal hook finishes. So we see those banelings get to be their little tiny beach ball selves and just roll around. Banelings roll. And we actually see him splitting up his army into two groups, the Mutas and the Banelings and the Zerglings, which is kind of interesting, because usually you have the Banelings and then the Mutas and the Zerglings. So this is kind of a different way to split his army up. I'm not quite sure why he's going for something like this, because honestly, you want your Mutas to attack a different group than you want your Banelings to attack. And actually, he does split it actually up into just 3 groups. Now, he's going to wait for this attack. He's most likely going to wait for either Infestors or for this attack to move out onto creep, because as soon as it's on creep, it's actually pretty easy to deal with. It's really not that difficult to kill. Now, these Marines are getting shelled by their own tanks, which is really not cost efficient if you think about how many Zerglings he's managing to kill. However, he's not really worried about being cost efficient. He's worried about getting this area locked down so that he can take down the 4th base up here and really do a lot of damage to it. We have the Zerglings coming around for a flank at the back, and here comes the big attack from the Zerg player. Lots of Zerglings coming in, actually beautiful Baneling hits. They're rolling into a ton of Marines, just doing so much damage. The Mutas are being super effective, and I would be surprised not to see the Zerg just push his advantage at this point. Now, of course, that advantage is actually reasonably small, because this is a huge group of Marines, and behind a wall, it doesn't really matter how many Banelings you have. They will be super effective versus the Mulisks. The Mulisks are actually going to have a hard time defending this. But it looks like they're pushing out beyond the wall, and he's going for the 4th base. That's actually pretty smart. Gotta deny those 4ths. If your opponent's denying your 4th, you have to make sure to do it to him. Otherwise, you're kind of just in a rough spot. I'm surprised he's actually not going for the entire kill. Oh, here comes the attack. Oh, and he's not magic boxing his Mutas. That was kind of rough. However, the Baneling hits on the Marines is going to be his saving grace there. He doesn't even really need those Mutas anymore. They really just don't matter. There's so many Zerglings. There's only a couple of Banelings left, but honestly, there's just such a huge amount of Zerglings. I wonder where he plans on going with this. Oh, he's planning on going and morphing more Banelings. Of course, a very smart idea. 13 more Banelings on the way, along with 7 more Mutalisks and 18 more Zerglings. We have a position starting to get set up for our Terran player. However, it's not really the position you want to be in as Terran, because it leaves your 3rd amazingly open to attack. Now, we do have this engagement from the Zerg player being started, and honestly, he just has so much more supply, and he's just murdering this Terran player at this point. Even not specifically cost efficiently, because the splitting on those Marines was pretty good. However, honestly, the Zerg player is just, he's in a position he wants to be in. He managed to snipe his Terran's 3rd base expansion attempt, which is really what you want to do in a situation like this. It looks like a small... Oh no, they're just SCVs. I thought that might be like a small platoon of Marines, maybe, was going to go over to defend this 4th, but nah. And it looks like the Zerg army is going to be heading on over to the 4th, and I would prefer to see these Mutalisks literally just fly around and try to snipe expansion attempts. Like, these Zerglings can deal with the army well enough on their own, because TeslaTrooper's army was not really set up in a good position. It did not have a good location, and we do see him actually get that command center at the 4th, which is quite annoying to to happen to our Terran player. He's also going for a lot of kills on the army, and our Terran player is just losing so many expensive units to really nothing from the Zerg player. The Zerg player does not care about losing Zerglings. I mean, he cares a little bit about losing Mutalisks, but not really. He doesn't mind it too much. And let's see what type of tech our Zerg player is going for. And there's the Greater Spire going down. He is going to be getting that Broodlord tech. He also has chitinous plating on the way for Ultralisks. So he's going for all sorts of high-level tech, which is something that a lot of people have been doing very recently, where they just get those super heavy tier 3 techs, and then they just switch between them every once in a while. And TeslaTrooper does call the GG and leave the game. So I'm just going to wait for this replay to end, because apparently there were 9,000 observers. There we go. All right. Well, I would like to thank whoever at the CSL had to watch this video for sticking with me through the entire thing. I hope you guys do consider me seriously. I'm actually not going to plug my own stuff because I don't feel like it this game, and because it wasn't really a video for me or my channel. So anyway, guys, this is Boisterous, signing out.